Energy was never evenly distributed. In every structured environment, it collected around certain individuals and drained from others. It appeared in the way meetings accelerated when one person entered the room. It showed in the pace of responses, the eagerness to contribute, the subtle leaning forward of those seeking proximity. Energy was not enthusiasm. It was attention. And attention, when concentrated, becomes power. He understood this early. The organization operated efficiently on the surface. Deadlines were met. Reports were delivered. Performance metrics maintained steady growth. There were no visible fractures. Yet beneath the measurable outcomes, something less tangible shaped the internal climate. One senior figure had become the primary source of momentum, not through authority alone, though rank supported it, not through charisma in the theatrical sense. It was more restrained than that. The individual moved quickly, spoke decisively, responded instantly to communication. Messages were answered within minutes. Ideas were proposed before others finished articulating problems. Meetings ended with action items already assigned. The pace was admired. It was also exhausting. Energy radiated outward at high frequency. Others adapted by accelerating. Response times shortened across departments. Late-night emails increased. Weekends grew porous. Urgency became cultural rather than situational. He did not object. Acceleration, in moderation, produces growth. But sustained acceleration without deliberate recovery depletes structural resilience. Systems that never pause eventually miscalculate. The imbalance was subtle at first. Junior managers began measuring their worth by visibility of output rather than quality of insight. Quick replies replaced considered analysis. Strategic questions were shortened to avoid slowing momentum. Silence became associated with hesitation. The senior figure rarely paused. Silence was interpreted as inefficiency. Even moments intended for reflection were filled with provisional conclusions. He observed without interference. The organization rewarded responsiveness. Promotions favored those who mirrored the pace. Performance reviews praised availability and immediate contribution. The energy source was treated as a model. Yet metrics began revealing minor inconsistencies. Forecast projections fluctuated slightly more than usual. Resource allocations were occasionally misaligned. None of it catastrophic. But patterns accumulate long before consequences materialize. He tracked time, not output. How long did decisions remain stable before revision? How often were initiatives adjusted within the first quarter? How many late-night communications were corrective rather than generative? The answers formed a quiet ledger. High energy, when unmanaged, creates volatility. He initiated small structural observations. Weekly executive sessions were extended by 10 minutes, not to add content, but to insert deliberate pause between agenda items. The shift was barely noticeable, framed as scheduling optimization. During those pauses, he remained silent. The senior figure filled them. Speculation emerged where reflection could have developed. Hypothetical scenarios were layered quickly. Additional action steps proposed preemptively. Momentum resumed before absorption occurred. Others followed. The pauses, instead of creating space, became launch pads for further acceleration. He noted the reaction carefully. Energy, when dominant, resists stillness. The next adjustment was quieter. Response time expectations were redefined in internal communication guidelines. Non-urgent messages no longer required immediate reply. A 24-hour window became acceptable standard. The policy was presented neutrally, designed to reduce unnecessary pressure and enhance clarity. Compliance was uneven. Most departments welcomed the change. Message traffic decreased slightly. Decision quality improved marginally where space was respected. The senior figure continued responding instantly. The speed signaled commitment. Others felt compelled to match it, despite formal permission not to. Energy disregards policy when identity is attached to momentum. He began isolating high-impact decisions from high-frequency communication. Strategic initiatives were moved into scheduled review cycles rather than continuous message threads. This required contributors to consolidate thoughts before presenting them. The senior figure adapted, but with visible friction. Interim messages still arrived, updates framed as helpful, refinements presented as efficiency improvements. The intention was not malicious. It was habitual. Momentum had become identity. In executive briefings, the pattern intensified. The senior figure spoke first consistently, setting tone and pace. Others compressed their contributions accordingly. Meetings felt productive but breathless. He shifted seating arrangements. Without comment, the speaking order rotated. The senior figure would no longer begin sessions automatically. Others were prompted first, often those who naturally processed information more slowly. The change was procedural. The impact was psychological. When forced to wait before contributing, the senior figure displayed subtle restlessness, pen tapping once against the table before stilling, eyes narrowing slightly as others elaborated. Interruptions were rare but present, framed as clarifications. He did not intervene immediately. Instead, he extended the duration between agenda points. Silence entered again. The room struggled with it. A culture conditioned to constant motion interprets pause as inefficiency. Yet in those seconds of unfilled space, something became visible: fatigue. Several executives exhaled audibly when no new directive followed a completed update. Shoulders lowered fractionally. Energy had been overextended. Outside formal meetings, he conducted individual check-ins, not interrogations. Simple inquiries about workload perception. Responses were cautious at first. No one wished to appear incapable of maintaining pace. But patterns surfaced indirectly. Sleep cycles disrupted. Strategic thinking relegated to early mornings before message traffic began. Reluctance to propose long-term planning for fear it would be overtaken by immediate execution. The organization had optimized for velocity at the expense of depth. The senior figure remained high-performing. Output numbers justified the pace. External partners appreciated responsiveness. There was no overt failure to correct, which made the imbalance more dangerous. He analyzed energy flow as if it were capital. Where was it generated? Where was it spent? Which initiatives produced sustainable returns, and which consumed attention disproportionately? He discovered that nearly 40% of executive communication centered around initiatives later deprioritized or restructured within months. Acceleration had produced movement, not necessarily direction. Containment required reframing energy as finite. In the next quarterly strategy session, he introduced a constraint. Each executive would be allocated a fixed initiative budget, measured not in currency, but in active project slots. No one could exceed their limit without closing another. The structure was simple. The senior figure's portfolio immediately exceeded the cap. Projects had accumulated through enthusiasm and rapid endorsement. None individually unjustified, but collectively unsustainable. Adjustment was required. The senior figure volunteered to delegate certain initiatives, but proposed maintaining advisory oversight across them all. The suggestion preserved involvement without reducing energetic output. He declined gently. Active oversight equals allocation, he stated evenly. The boundary was new. For the first time, momentum encountered structural resistance. Delegations proceeded. Several initiatives were reassigned fully, not partially. The senior figure's calendar cleared incrementally. Fewer simultaneous threads demanded immediate response. The initial week felt slower. Messages reduced slightly. Meetings shortened by minutes rather than seconds. Silence lingered without immediate replacement. Then discomfort surfaced. Without constant activation, the senior figure sought new projects. Ideas were circulated rapidly. Proposals framed as opportunities too promising to ignore. The instinct to generate energy remained intact. He did not reject the ideas outright. He required incubation. Each proposal entered a mandatory review window of 7 days before discussion. No feedback would be given during that period. The delay was procedural. It was also diagnostic. Ideas that survive silence often hold structural integrity. Ideas that require immediate reinforcement often depend on momentum for legitimacy. Several proposals dissolved within the week, replaced by new ones before review occurred. The pattern clarified itself. Energy, when uncontained, seeks stimulation rather than stability. By the end of the quarter, measurable fatigue had decreased across departments. Response times normalized. Strategic documents lengthened slightly, not in volume, but in depth. The senior figure remained influential but less central. The organization no longer revolved around immediate activation. Yet imbalance was not fully corrected, because energy had not been neutralized. It had merely been slowed. Containment without redirection leads to pressure accumulation. He prepared the next structural move carefully. Containment altered tempo, but it did not redefine ownership. The senior figure adjusted outward behavior with discipline. Project counts aligned with allocated limits. Messages arrived less frequently. Initiatives entered review cycles without visible impatience. From a structural perspective, compliance had been achieved. Yet energy, when internalized as identity, does not dissipate simply because parameters change. It compresses. He observed the compression closely. In meetings, contributions from the senior figure were more measured, but they carried intensified density. Fewer words, sharper directives, immediate pivots to execution. The reduction in frequency had increased force. Others responded predictably. Where constant motion once created fatigue, now concentrated bursts created tension. Teams braced for direction. The environment felt quieter, but not calmer. Energy had narrowed rather than stabilized. Compression without redistribution creates pressure points. He began mapping where pressure accumulated. Certain departments exhibited subtle acceleration when interacting directly with the senior figure. Timelines shortened artificially. Deliverables were framed as urgent even when strategic sequencing suggested patience. In cross-functional sessions where the senior figure was absent, pace normalized. Discussions deepened. Alternatives were considered without immediate closure. The contrast was instructive. Authority does not need to dominate a room overtly to shape its metabolism. He shifted structure again. A new framework was introduced for executive communication, delayed commitment. No initiative could move from proposal to execution within the same meeting in which it was introduced. At minimum, one full review cycle had to occur before activation. The policy was justified as risk mitigation. The effect was psychological restraint. During the first session under the new rule, the senior figure presented a refined initiative, measured, strategically viable, aligned with long-term growth. Under previous conditions, it would have moved instantly into execution. Instead, it entered scheduled review. The room remained neutral. The senior figure accepted the process, though posture tightened slightly. Momentum encountered deliberate friction. Over subsequent weeks, a pattern emerged. Some proposals gained strength during incubation, supported by deeper analysis from other executives. Others weakened, revealing dependence on initial enthusiasm rather than structural necessity. The organization began distinguishing between generative energy and reactive stimulation. He intensified compression further, not by limiting speech, but by limiting activation bandwidth. Energy reporting was formalized. Each executive now submitted a monthly reflection not on results, but on energy expenditure. Which initiatives consumed the most cognitive focus, which generated renewal, which created fragmentation. The exercise felt abstract at first. Metrics were easier to quantify than internal allocation. Yet patterns surfaced rapidly. The senior figure's reports revealed disproportionate cognitive fragmentation. Even with reduced project counts, mental activation remained elevated. Constant scanning for opportunity, constant readiness to respond. High energy without containment transforms into vigilance. Vigilance, sustained, erodes strategic patience. He initiated executive retreats designed not for planning, but for stillness. No presentations, no agenda beyond a single strategic question explored over hours rather than minutes. The first retreat felt unfamiliar. The senior figure contributed efficiently, then attempted to accelerate the discussion toward actionable steps. He redirected gently. Stay with the question. The instruction was quiet, not corrective. Hours passed without resolution. For some, the extended contemplation felt indulgent. For others, it surfaced insights previously obscured by pace. The senior figure's contributions grew shorter as the day progressed. Energy sought outlet, but encountered structural stillness. Compression continued. Outside executive circles, the cultural shift deepened. Departments no longer mirrored instantaneous responsiveness. Weekends regained boundaries. Project pipelines stabilized. Yet within the senior figure, pressure accumulated. The reduction of external velocity revealed internal restlessness. Without constant activation, attention turned inward. There were more proposals drafted privately than presented publicly. Ideas queued, awaiting review windows. Energy seeks release. He recognized that suppression alone would not resolve imbalance. Redirection was required. A new strategic initiative was formed, one designed to convert high activation into containment rather than expansion. The senior figure was appointed to lead it. The initiative focused on system optimization rather than growth, reducing inefficiencies, eliminating redundant processes, consolidating communication pathways. It required precision, not acceleration, depth, not breadth. The assignment appeared aligned with capability. It was also containment disguised as empowerment. Initially, momentum surged. The senior figure approached the initiative with characteristic intensity, mapping inefficiencies across departments, identifying overlaps, proposing consolidation frameworks. But unlike previous projects, activation required collaboration rather than unilateral execution. Every proposed optimization required consensus from affected departments. Implementation timelines were extended deliberately. The senior figure encountered resistance, not opposition, but procedural sequencing. Patience was mandatory. In weekly updates, the senior figure delivered progress reports concisely, yet subtle frustration surfaced in micro-expressions when adoption lagged behind proposal. He did not intervene. Instead, he increased visibility of collaborative decision-making. Success metrics for the initiative were reframed around sustainability rather than speed. Celebrations were tied to stabilization of systems, not rapid completion. Energy began redirecting from expansion to refinement. The shift was uncomfortable. Acceleration provides adrenaline. Optimization requires endurance. Midway through the quarter, a moment surfaced revealing the underlying transformation. During an executive session, an emerging market opportunity was introduced by another department head. The opportunity carried urgency and potential visibility. Under previous dynamics, the senior figure would have engaged immediately, layering strategy, assigning exploratory tasks, accelerating motion. This time, the response was restrained. The senior figure listened fully, asked two clarifying questions, and concluded with, "We'll review during next cycle." No expansion followed. The room remained balanced. The instinct had been overridden by structure long enough to recalibrate behavior. Yet recalibration is not reversal. Later that week, in a smaller working session, the senior figure privately suggested accelerating exploration despite formal review timelines. The proposal was framed as efficiency, not defiance. He declined evenly. Process preserves capacity. No further explanation. The boundary held. Energy began adjusting not just externally, but internally. The optimization initiative progressed steadily. Redundant reporting channels were eliminated. decision pathways simplified, response hierarchies clarified. The work was meticulous, less visible than growth projects, but structurally transformative. As inefficiencies dissolved, the overall demand for constant activation decreased organically. Something unexpected occurred. The senior figure's calendar, once saturated with overlapping engagements, developed consistent empty blocks. Initially filled with minor tasks, these blocks gradually remained unscheduled. Space emerged. In that space, no new projects were automatically initiated. Silence expanded without triggering immediate motion. The organization's metabolic rate stabilized. He monitored carefully. Energy that once drove constant expansion now flowed into system integrity. Fewer initiatives launched, but those that did displayed higher durability. Revision cycles shortened. Strategic decisions held longer before adjustment. Containment had evolved into redirection, yet a final imbalance persisted. While the senior figure's outward pace had moderated, influence still carried residual gravitational weight. Others continued anticipating activation cues unconsciously. The final shift required transferring not just speed, but energetic authority. He prepared for irreversible adjustment. Redirection altered behavior. It did not yet redefine identity. The senior figure had adapted to structural compression with discipline. Initiative budgets were respected. Review cycles observed. Optimization work progressed without overt acceleration. From measurable perspectives, the imbalance appeared resolved. But energy, once established as cultural reference, leaves residue. Even in moderated form, the organization still oriented subtly around that presence. In moments of uncertainty, eyes shifted instinctively toward the senior figure before decisions settled elsewhere. In early-stage discussions, tone adjusted unconsciously when that voice entered. The pace no longer accelerated automatically, but awareness intensified. Influence had been reduced in volume, not fully redistributed. He understood that lasting equilibrium required the system to generate its own energy independent of any single source. The opportunity arrived during annual planning. Historically, the senior figure had driven the early narrative arc of these sessions, framing opportunity, shaping ambition, accelerating consensus. Even when others contributed, direction consolidated quickly around that axis. This year, the structure changed. Planning would begin with written submissions circulated anonymously among executive peers before live discussion. Each proposal would be evaluated on strategic coherence and resource alignment before authorship was revealed. The adjustment was procedural. It was also dislocating. During the first review cycle, several proposals stood out for clarity and restraint. They demonstrated measured ambition without saturation. Others revealed overextension masked by momentum. Authorship remained concealed until scoring concluded. When identities were revealed, an unanticipated distribution surfaced. High-scoring proposals came from individuals previously perceived as secondary contributors, executives who had thrived under the compressed model but rarely dominated discourse. The senior figure's submission scored well, but not highest. The room absorbed the data without commentary. Energy had diversified. In live sessions that followed, discussion began without established gravitational center. Each proposal was debated on merit rather than reputation. Interruptions decreased. Thought matured in the absence of anticipatory deference. The senior figure contributed with restraint. Observations were sharp, but no longer definitive. Influence now competed with multiple equally stable sources. He watched closely for signs of regression. None surfaced. The optimization initiative reached completion during this period. Systems had streamlined. Reporting redundancies eliminated. Decision pathways clarified. The work, though less visible than growth ventures, reshaped the organization's operating rhythm permanently. In the final review meeting for the initiative, the senior figure delivered a concise summary. No expansion, no additional proposals attached. When finished, silence followed. Not expectant, not tense, stable. He responded with a single acknowledgement and moved to the next agenda item. Closure occurred without ceremony. Weeks later, a high-pressure situation emerged, an unexpected regulatory shift affecting one division. Urgency returned organically. Action required swift coordination. Previously, such a moment would have triggered immediate activation from the senior figure, consolidating response around centralized momentum. This time unfolded differently. The affected division head presented initial assessment calmly. Others contributed structured inputs. The senior figure offered 2 targeted recommendations and deferred implementation leadership to the division directly impacted. The room did not accelerate chaotically. Energy distributed itself proportionally. Timelines were set deliberately. Communication plans structured without excess. Follow-up checkpoints scheduled within standard review cycles rather than emergency cadence. The organization responded without reverting to old velocity. He observed the exchange with deliberate stillness. The test had arrived and passed without intervention. Containment had become culture. Yet finality required more than proof. It required structural permanence. At the subsequent executive realignment, role scopes were adjusted subtly. The senior figure's responsibilities shifted toward long-horizon strategy rather than operational activation. External representation duties rotated across a wider group. Decision-making forums diversified membership permanently. The changes were framed as growth evolution. They were also architectural redistribution. Influence now flowed through multiple channels rather than a single energetic core. In private reflection sessions conducted individually with each executive, he asked a single question: where does your energy serve the system best? Responses varied. For the senior figure, the answer was no longer framed around speed or scale. It centered on depth, on cultivating strategic clarity without immediate execution pressure. The language had changed. Weeks later, in a routine executive meeting, a moment surfaced quietly marking completion. An emerging opportunity was introduced, complex, potentially transformative. In earlier phases of the organization's evolution, momentum would have surged instantly. Instead, discussion unfolded methodically. Multiple executives evaluated resource allocation, strategic fit, long-term sustainability. The senior figure listened without interruption. When invited to speak, the contribution was measured, aligned with collective rhythm. No expansion beyond scope. No urgency layered unnecessarily. The proposal entered review cycle without acceleration. As the meeting concluded, no one felt compelled to fill the remaining minutes. Silence existed without discomfort. Energy remained contained within structure. He remained seated briefly after others departed. The room held equilibrium without any single presence sustaining it. The vault of energy no longer required guarding. It had been internalized. Energy had shifted from external activation to disciplined allocation. Momentum no longer defined identity. Speed no longer equated to value. The senior figure continued contributing meaningfully, but without gravitational dominance. Influence persisted, tempered, proportionate, integrated. The irreversible shift was not reduction of power. It was redistribution of force. The system now generated stability from design rather than personality. And once energy embeds into structure, it cannot be reclaimed by impulse. The architecture held. Silence remained intact. Authority no longer radiated outward in bursts. It rested, contained.